order to start, I have 3 questions for you. And the first question is, who of you knows this feeling? Your heart starts to race, your knees are getting weak, you get this weird feeling in your stomach, your hands start to sweat. Who of you knows this? Raise your hand and say, yep, really loud. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Second question, have you ever been in a situation where you wanted to do something? I don't know, like walk up to a beautiful girl, be in a huge class, raise your hand and ask a question, contradict an authority, whatsoever. But then you got this feeling of nervous anxiety, and because of this feeling, you didn't do what you actually wanted to do. Have you experienced this? Raise your hand and say, yep, really loud. Yeah. All right, perfect. So last question, have you ever experienced this, been in a situation, wanted to do something, then you were anxious, scared, whatsoever, but you still did it, and experienced one of 2 things. Either it was not as scary as you thought, or you did it over and over again, and at one point, you were not nervous at all anymore. Have you experienced this? Raise your hand and say, yep, really loud. Yeah. All right, perfect. Because this is exactly the process I will be talking about. And more specifically, my whole talk will evolve around the question on how to become more confident. And more specifically, how to overcome social anxieties, how to stop caring what other people might think about you, and basically, how you can do in your own life what you want to do and not be held back by fear. And even though it's the beginning of my talk, I already have an answer for you. And the answer to all those questions is to lay down on the street for 30 seconds. Yeah, so obviously there's a lot more to it. And over the next few minutes, I will tell you the story, how I actually arrived at this conclusion. And to some big extent, it's my own story. So it involves my own insecurities. It involves therapy and coaching, happiness and content at the end, and of course, laying down on the street for 30 seconds. So this story basically begins as far back as I can remember. And I was always kind of like confident, outgoing. You know, I was playing basketball professionally back in high school, so I had my own apartment when I was 16, so every weekend going to clubs and parties and so on. All my friends also professional basketball players. So in high school, I was hanging out with the cool kids. And others would definitely also describe me as confident and outgoing. But how it felt on the inside was often pretty different. So there were like a handful of situations where I would get really nervous or even insecure. And especially on people who were cooler than me, smarter than me, more successful, and so on, I would get shy and even insecure. And this was because I had this huge fear of rejection, huge fear of not being cool, or being exposed as weak. And this kind of fear led to 2 types of behavior. On the one hand, avoidance. So often avoided situation where I might appear uncool. For example, if I would be invited to a big party and I didn't know anybody, I wouldn't go there because there might pop up a situation where I would stand all by myself for like a minute or 2, talk to nobody, and people would look at me and think, hey, this guy's uncool, nobody talks to him. Or what I would do is drag my friends along, so I always had somebody to talk to the whole event. The second kind of behavior was I was looking for approval. So if there was a cooler guy around, I often tried to behave in a way that he appreciated, so he would approve of me and say, okay, he's cool as well. What this meant was that I often would engage in behaviors I myself didn't think were good or right. But you know, I was in high school, I was a teenager, so confronting the thing would also involve admitting it, so I didn't do it and kind of like dragged along this whole thing, right? After high school, I quit playing basketball because I broke my arm, I couldn't play anymore. And then I started to get into psychotherapy and coaching because I was kind of interested in it. And while I was playing basketball, I learned, if you want to become really good in something, what should you do? You should try to learn from the best. So I applied this lesson that I learned in basketball to psychotherapy and coaching. So I went through whole Europe and tried to learn from the best psychotherapists and coaches. So I was going to events, I was going to conferences, walking up to like the most important guy, shake his hand, say, hey, my name is Till, I would like to learn from you. What this meant was I was literally confronted with my fear of rejection all the time. And back then I was thinking, hey, if there would be a good point of time to get over this fear of rejection, it would be right now. Ironically, or fortunately, basically, exactly at this time, I heard about comfort zone challenges for the first time. Back then, I read it in Tim Ferriss' 4 Work Week, and he described it as a technique to, overcome certain limitations and to progress faster in business. And to me, it sounded kind of interesting. And for those of you who don't know what comfort zone challenges are challenges where you consciously put yourself in a situation that makes you nervous or insecure. For example, if you're afraid of rejection, one of the challenges you can do is you go out and try to get rejected 10 times as fast as possible. If you're afraid of embarrassment, you go out and, for example, stretch your arms as high as you can and walk through a crowded street, so embarrass yourself a bit in public. The idea behind it is you do it over and over again and at one point, you stop caring what other people might think. To me, it sounded pretty cool. Why? Because this would mean I could get over my fear of rejection quite easily, right? So I looked deep into psychology and psychotherapy, what they have to say on this topic. More specifically, evidence-based psychotherapy, so cognitive behavioral therapy. And they had a solution for this since the 1950s. And this solution was called exposure therapy. Why exposure therapy? Because similar to comfort zone challenges, you go out, you expose yourself to the thing that scares you. And they also had an explanation why this whole thing works. Okay? So like in a really oversimplified way, you have an autonomic nervous system that fires a fear response. So your autonomic nervous system is this part of your nervous system that you can't control consciously, and that is responsible like for sweating, heart rate, and so on, and the fear response. And at one point or the other in your life, you encounter a situation, and your autonomic nervous system, for whatever reason, learned to respond to this situation with fear. And from that on, every time you encounter the situation again, your autonomic nervous system will send this fear response, even though you consciously understand the situation is not dangerous or scary. So now to get over it, what you need to do is the following. You put yourself in the situation, you get anxious, scared, whatsoever, and you stay in there, so your anxiety step by step decreases, and your autonomic nervous system learns, hey, the situation is actually not scary. So this is the process how you become more confident. And for me, I went, hey, that sounds pretty good. So I decided to start doing comfort zone challenges. And I have very, very vivid memories of my first comfort zone challenge. And it was a Thursday when I committed myself to do comfort zone challenges. And with most things, when you commit to do something, what do you say? I will start tomorrow. So with Thursday, I said, okay, I will start tomorrow. The same day, Thursday afternoon, I was going home from university, waiting for my train around 5 o'clock, rush hour, people everywhere. So I was standing there, waiting for the train. And I was thinking, wow, I'm going to lay down here on the floor for 30 seconds tomorrow. That's a pretty scary thing. And when my train arrived, I was thinking, hey, why shouldn't I do today? And the moment I just started pondering with the idea, boom, two things happened. On the one hand, my heart started to race, my hands were getting sweaty, it was kind of hard to swallow. This on the one hand. On the other hand, boom, boom, boom. All those really, really good excuses popped up, like your friend is waiting at home, the floor is dirty, what might the people think, and so on, and so on. So I was standing there, kind of like torn in between. On the one hand, I wanted to do it. On the other hand, the excuses and the fear. So what did I say? I said, my train was going to say, fuck it, I will do it tomorrow. So I walked towards the train, and then I can remember it. With the first step, I had this epiphany, this aha moment. So I understood something on like a deeper level. I heard this concept before, but now I really understood it. Because this fear will always be there. And those really good excuses will always be there. So if I allow this set of rationalizations and this fear to hold me back now, I will never do it, So I put down my bag, turned around, lay down. Honestly, guys, I was terrified. So I lay down, and my heart was racing. And then I noticed three things. The first thing was, of course, I got a lot of weird looks. People walking past me, giving me weird looks. There was even one mom with a kid. The kid wanted to walk to me because it was interesting. The mom pulled away. Don't go next to this strange dude. But I also noticed that all those weird looks were not as scary as I thought. The second thing that I noticed was that a lot of people were really confused because I knew what I was doing, but they didn't have a clue what I was doing there on the floor, right? And the third thing that I noticed was the majority of the people didn't even care. They didn't even look at me. They walked so close to me, they didn't even look at me. And with every second, I got more and more relaxed. And after like 1 or 2 minutes, completely relaxed, all my anxiety vanished. I got back up, got my bag. I still noticed all the people were looking at me. Got in the train, went home, looked out the window with a big smile on my face. So that was my first comfort zone challenge ever. And from that on, I made a list of all my fears and step by step tackled all my fears. And some went away quite fast, others took longer to overcome, and so on. Then I saw how it helped me, so I told my friends about it, so they started doing comfort zone challenge, and had all my friends from whole Europe doing comfort zone challenges, sending each other pictures and videos how we did comfort zone challenges. And then I decided, hey, it helped me, it helped my friends, let's help most people. So we created this online community, the Comfort Zone Crushers. And there we give people challenges and give them piece of advice how to step out of their comfort zone. And step by step, it grew bigger and bigger and bigger. And exactly in this month, we have hundreds of people from more than 20 different nations to step out of their comfort zone, tackle their fear, and become more confident. And here's just some example of people from all over the world doing the laying down challenge. So this is a guy from Singapore. This is a guy from London. This is Berlin. This is Vienna. This is, I don't know, this is somewhere in Europe. Well, this is Vienna as well. And this is also Pradesh and Vienna. So this whole thing from me, confronted with my own fears of rejection and so on, step by step grew bigger and bigger into this international movement. And from all those things, from all those helping others to cross their comfort zone and crushing my own comfort zone, I learned 3 things. And the first thing that I learned was, if you consciously do comfort zone challenges over and over again, you get in the habit of doing the uncomfortable thing. And with most things in life, it's like this. There's something you want to achieve, and between you and the thing, there's a certain discomfort. You want to have a great body, you need to work out. You want to be smart, you need to study. And through comfort zone challenge, doing it over again, I learned, on the one hand, to ignore the excuses, because most of the time, you have good excuses not to do the thing, right? And the second thing is, I learned to go through this discomfort. So doing comfort zone challenge kind of like bleeds into other areas. The second thing that I learned was that my relationship to fear completely changed. So a lot of people walk up to me and say, hey, Mr. Comfort Zone Crusher, so you still have fears? You still have a comfort zone? Of course. I'm a human being, of course I have fears and so on. And obviously, comfort zone challenges is not a magic pill, so you will not always immediately get over everything. And some things will take a long time to get over. But what changed was that nowadays, even if I want to do something, and between me and the thing is a certain fear, I will still do it. So I'm so familiar with fear and nervousness right now, it doesn't hold me back anymore. And the third thing that I learned was comfort zone challenges gave me a lot of happiness. And you might think, why? Like stretching your arms in the air, running through the like a hallway, or laying down on the floor. Why does it give you happiness? And I think for 2 reasons. On the one hand, because a lot of unhappiness comes from comparing yourself to other people. And if you start to do comfort zone challenge, you stop caring what other people might think about you, and you also stop comparing yourself. And the other thing is, a lot of unhappiness comes from comparing yourself to like a perfect self, And comfort zone challenge, and also because it bleeds into other areas, you start to develop and progress on a daily basis, and step by step get closer to the perfect version. So pretty often at the end of the day, I can sit down on my couch, lay back and say, hey, I'm not perfect yet, but today I'm at a step closer to this perfect version of myself. And this gives me kind of like happiness and fulfillment. So those are 3 things that I learned, and obviously the whole talk is a bit advocacy for going out and doing comfort zone challenges. But at the same time, there's also like a bigger vision behind it. Because what I noticed or what I've seen was that, comfort zone challenge, the term, popped up like sometime in the 21st century. Though the idea behind it is exposure therapy, it's researched since the 1950s. So basically, there's this huge knowledge of therapeutic knowledge and psychology knowledge. But most of our society doesn't have access to it either, because therapy and coaching is too expensive, or the social stigma prevents the people from actually engaging it. So, you won't go there because your friends might think you're crazy or whatever. And what our vision or mission is, that we take this knowledge that's there, and from which a lot of people actually would benefit, and we take this knowledge, kind of like dress it up new, and make it accessible to the people. And also through the internet and to spreading it widely, we can do it for really, really little money. And so we can enable a lot of people to actually engage in it and benefit from it in their own life. But this is only to give you a glimpse of the whole bigger thing behind it. And now, of course, I want to encourage you to step more often out of your comfort zone. And at the beginning of the talk, I asked, okay, who of you know this feeling, nervous anxiety? You all raised your hand, you all said, yep. So this fear and anxiety is something that connects us all and kind of makes us human. And for me, this is a very comforting thought and very comforting idea. So I want to challenge you to, at this year's event, talk to a few more people. Walk up to your favorite speaker, ask some questions. And those people at home who's watching it, close your laptop. No, watch two more TED Talks and then close your laptop. Then go out and, lay down on the street, stretch your arms. Do something that's outside your day-to-day autopilot. Because comfort zone challenges not only help you to become more confident, but it also gives adventure to your life and kind of spice up your life. So now I want to finish my talk with a quote that I always try to live by. And this is a quote famously said by Eleanor Roosevelt. And she once said, do one thing every day that scares you. Thank you.